before that, I would like to tell our listeners and viewers the immediate provocation for having you as our special guest this evening and your morning. We are prompted by your being conferred the Richard Dawkins Award, named after the still living, well-known ethologist and assertive atheist. And I would like to quote from the citation, and this is the citation that came with the award. For half a century, India's Javed Akhtar has been a powerful force for secularism, reason, and human rights, challenging superstition and intolerance through his work in poetry, screenwriting, and political activism, unquote. Since Dr. famously, and some might say even notoriously, atheist, let's begin with that. When did you first realize that you were an atheist?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was born in a family that was not particularly religious. If they were not wearing their atheism sleeve, then at least they were indifferent. My father was definitely an atheist. My mother died when I was 8, but I don't think she was religious at all because I was 8 years old and she never taught even ABC of religion to me. And her way of life was also extremely secular. Not many Muslim women use bindi. She used to do that, put bindi on her forehead and so on. So it was a complete secular atmosphere. And there were many elders in my environment who were atheists and who would tell me these things. And I had grown up with these ideas. I was never a religious person. But for 4 or 5 years, because of some other people in Bombay, perhaps I was influenced a little, and I remember those few years when I kept rosas also. But ultimately I came back. Yes. And in any case, I was keeping rosa because I had no choice. I was starving. So rosa at least had given me a moral right to share the meal in the evening with them. So, but soon I came back to my roots and my original value system. And I kept thinking. I was growing, obviously. I read and I discussed with people who were free thinkers. And I think by the age I reached 40, I was intellectually, consciously, academically, totally an atheist.
I see. आपने अक्सर जिक्र किया, मैं 2-3 आपके इंटरव्यूज देख रहा था जहां आप नास्तिक आपने शब्द का प्रयोग किया. इस दोनों ये एथिस्ट और नास्तिक में कोई फाइन डिफरेंस है या आपके हिसाब से दोनों एक ही हैं?
No, I don't think. So far as I know, Nastik or Astik. Astik, one who has Astha, or Nastik who doesn't have Astha. So ultimately, Nastik is the word for the atheist, non-believer.
आपने ये भी जिक्र किया है कि there are many closeted atheists in India.
Oh yes.
As it were, that's the expression. Why would you think they are closeted? Because as far as I can tell, in the Indian context, atheism is not really scoffed at as intensely as perhaps, say, in a country like America in some ways.
Well, yes and no. As a matter of fact, if you are denying God who is generic, not many people have problem. But if you have certain resistance against a particular God, and then people react. You know, God is too generic, so they don't mind and they are rather anyway. But when you tell them that your belief, during any discussion or interaction with them, these beliefs are wrong because of these things, then it is sacrilegious. You see, people of any religion, I'm afraid they don't have much logic or rationale to defend their faith or their tradition. So the only choice they have is to protect their set of beliefs by so-called sentiments. You know, atheists are not supposed to have sentiments. And they don't need sentiment because they have rationale, they have logic, they have reason. But in the absence of all this, the only fence that you can have is sentiment. So the sentiments very easily get hurt, you know. So that is a problem here also. And suppose, I mean, if somebody says I'm an atheist, people laugh it off. But if there is a puja at home, there is some ritual, religious ritual at home, and the person doesn't participate in that, then it will be a situation of confrontation. So many people don't want to get into that, and they don't have enough energy or inclination or perhaps courage to have these kind of confrontations. So they keep their ideas to themselves. Anything which is doesn't have general approval in the society, whether your different sexual preferences or your different religious preferences or your different political ideas which are not very popular, many people are very careful to articulate them. So they are closeted atheists, and there is a huge population in India who are people who are closeted atheists. Because I see that many times when I'm addressing a larger audience, I can see the approval and a happy smile on the faces of people that, all right, at least somebody is saying it. So I don't see any resistance. There are few people who stand up and ask questions which are aggressive, but most of the people I can see that there is a silent approval.
Right. Another point that you have frequently made, especially in the last few months that I've noticed, is you're making a distinction that perhaps secularism riles up people more than atheism in the Indian context. Why is it that?
You know, we have a slightly different secularism in our part of the world. For us, accepting all the religions or keeping equal distance from all the religions and respecting the sentiments of all the religious people is secularism. While in the Western world, secularism means rejecting all the religions.
Right.
But we are rather defensive about it. So we feel that if we accept all the superstitions and all the wrong values, then we are secular.
Right. That brings me to a somewhat personal question. Has your atheism stood in the way of your professional advancement or personal relationship in any way at all?
No, not at all.
Is it because you did not profess it, or is it...
What is interesting that I get trolled by people about my atheism, and most of them say that I'm not an atheist. They are upset that I'm, so they are not willing to believe that I'm an atheist. It doesn't suit them. Because if I'm an atheist, maybe I'm also secular, and that is very inconvenient. So because that shows them in poor light. So they would rather not like to believe that I'm an atheist or a secularist. So that gives more comfort to their conscience.
I see.